up, say. One time for the hometown, I got love for it, it's real. Yeah. 2 times for the haters, make.
Welcome to the McAtria Report. We're back with another episode. Thanks for joining us, guys. So today, we've got 2 very special guests. This is my boy, my good friend, H-Mont, Hunter Montgomery, and his beautiful wife, Daniella Montgomery now.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. And then we've got Janae Gaddy here, of course. This is the McAtria Report. And we got to read an ad before we go too deep here. So let's knock that out. This is my friend Stephen Holscher. So, whether you're looking to buy or sell, Holscher Ranch Group has you covered. With a dedicated team and a passion for Texas land, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Visit www.holscherranchgroup.com or call 325-899-1403 to get started. Holscher Ranch Group, making land ownership dreams come true, 1 acre at a time. Cool. All right. Let's do it. All right. 96.7, the creature. Okay, so first of all, let's just start off with a little introduction, a little background for both of y'all. But let's start with Hunter.
The elevator pitch?
Yes, you're going to have your elevator pitch. 30
seconds.
30 seconds.
No pressure.
We'll do it for both of y'all. Hunter, you go first, 30 seconds. All right, ready? Go.
Hunter Montgomery. I grew up here in the beautiful city of San Angelo. I have had a lot of interesting twists and turns in my life, but I am most grateful for fighting my way
10 seconds.
through my addiction and recovery and coming out on the other side and finding a great life on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had to do that because he did that to me, and I was like,
He loves
what?
doing that. No, he's not like people just
You
start,
did good.
like they're just getting into their name. He's like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, Danielle, what do you got?
Oh my
Give us
gosh,
your
I get a
elevator
30-second one too.
I won't say
Oh, look
anything.
at that.
You're going to
30
do a lot better than I am.
I mean, in summary, I'm also born in Texas, Laredo, Texas.
Oh, we're Laredo?
Shout out to border towns.
Okay.
Grew up in Laredo, went to school in Austin, then went to grad school in Houston, was a wedding planner for 6 years.
Nice.
And then decided to retire, and I'm now a Pilates instructor. And I met Hunter around the same time in 2021 when I decided to change my career.
Nice.
So cool.
Yeah, all
You did a lot
right.
better than I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you did good.
let's pick up.
Also pretty.
we're gonna pick up at a certain area about kind of where y'all met, and I'm just gonna kind of summarize kind of that time period, and then we'll go back a little bit. But so essentially, what happened is Hunter got divorced and was going through a pretty hard time, and basically TikTok was kind of new and developed this TikTok following. Jumped on it early.
Yeah.
Developed a really
COVID. So
Yeah.
everyone was stuck at home.
yeah.
TikTok was this new thing that kept everyone entertained and
Exactly. Yeah.
sucked us all in.
That's right. And it grew fast. And so he was also always a fan of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And so they caught wind of what he was doing. They were like, hey, this guy might be a good candidate for the show. And then he actually got invited to come on to The Bachelorette.
Yeah, and I guess to clarify, so I was a big fan of reality TV in general.
Yeah.
Still am. We're like,
Yeah, we love reality
it's like
TV.
trash
so
TV,
Yeah.
but rots our brain, but we love it. I think the thing is, really, like, reality TV tends to... You gotta be a certain type of person to go on reality.
You do. Yeah.
Right? And I think they see certain personalities that are willing to beg for attention or
Yeah.
love being in the spotlight,
Right.
or crave that, and they saw me and they thought, oh, this guy... I mean, if I'm being honest, they probably saw me and thought, this guy will do anything with him on camera, so let's get him. And I mean, you know, I was in a weird place in life, and
Yeah.
they were right. I mean, I was very... I was starved for attention.
Yeah, dude.
So,
That's cool that you're honest about that. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, like I feel like TikTok for me was... I was in a very, like, with my divorce and, like, some of the emotional stuff that came with it,
yeah.
I was really just craving validation. And I've
Yes.
always had an issue, and you know this,
Yeah.
about validation. I grew up, and I was kind of the fat kid,
Yeah.
you know, and I always kind of... there's always a part of me that when I lost that weight back
Mhm.
when we were in Austin,
Yeah.
I originally lost that weight and everyone told me like, oh my God, you look like a better human being. You look
Yeah.
like a new person. Like, and girls starting to like me more. Like, I think I really got almost addicted to that love
Yeah.
that I was receiving.
Yes.
And so that like started my path of like needing validation, I feel like. And after my divorce, and it's no one's fault, but I didn't feel loved.
Uh-huh.
I felt very lonely. And I think when people online were telling me these nice things about myself and
Yeah.
giving me accolades and affirming me and validating me,
Uh-huh.
I was really, that helped me. That
Yeah.
made me feel, and so the problem with that is it's
Man.
a cycle, right? Because
Yeah.
you just want more of it, and you want more of it, and then I turned into this like dancing monkey, essentially.
Wow.
I would do
yeah.
whatever, you know, the audience, if you will, wanted me to do, and
Yeah.
it's just, I didn't know it then, but it's very
Whoa.
unhealthy.
It's you know what's interesting about it is it really is an illusion, you know? It's an illusion. It's like you chase it and you get like these little validations.
Dopamine hits.
Yeah, dopamine hits, validations, little here and there, and you want more of it, and it's not fulfilling. It is for a few minutes, but then you just want more of it. And it's this illusion because what you realize is that if you go down that rabbit hole, that it's just kind of like drugs.
It's
dude.
exactly like drugs.
Right?
And I think like
It is.
there's a lot of similarities, and Danielle and I talk about this all the time, but
Yeah.
there's, for me as an addict, I am always needing to feel the next hit of
Mhm.
dopamine. Then I want to feel good.
Yeah.
And as an addict, I've always used generally artificial means to do so.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so when I got sober, like, I got sober and I had a really strong recovery program,
Yeah.
and like I'm still sober, but the problem that I found along the way is that I started kind of turning back to these other things to fill that hole in there,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Yeah.
so I think it can happen with anything. It can happen with working out.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
It can happen with any sort of, I guess, habit
Yeah.
where you're doing this and you're just doing it because it's taking you out of the presence and it's
Yeah.
making you feel a certain
That's
way.
right. That's
And
right.
I think when you lose sight of like what you're actually doing and it's no longer about that, that's when it becomes unhealthy.
Yeah. Ooh, man, that's good.
That's really good.
So I want to get back into that because I have a lot of thoughts on that. But first, tell us, Daniela, when during that time period,
Oh gosh.
what's fascinating to me is that if I remember correctly, you didn't even know that he was on the Bachelorette,
No.
right?
So when I met him, it was really fun.
Tell us how that happened.
I want to hear this.
Yeah.
Well, we were at a club, a place that we probably neither of us would really be caught
Never.
dead in.
We would
Oh,
not.
yeah?
I mean,
Yeah.
we were in like a utsa,
Like-
Yeah.
club.
Fist bumping club.
DJ,
Take
like
bottom of service.
stop. Yeah, all the things. Like,
Kind of sounds fun. Though.
yeah, it was fun. Honestly, it was a fun time in my life. I was also divorced, so that's what brought me to Austin.
Yeah.
And so we got divorced around the same time.
Okay.
And I was in Austin living like my best single life.
Yeah.
And we were at the club, and I was there for the DJ that was performing before his friend, who was the DJ performing after
Oh.
said DJ.
Yeah.
And so I found myself with my friends, long story short, in the DJ booth next to the DJ, and then they did the switch out. And when they were switching out, all of a sudden, it was like chaos. Like all these, it's
Whoa.
chill. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I'm too old. Like I'm not
Chill.
like, I'm not some groupie. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm just here having fun, like,
Yeah.
hanging out. And I was like, and I'm just here, enjoying drinks. And so the bouncer, I knew one of the guys that was ordering bottle service, I guess part of your
Wait a
group.
second. They were kicking him out because of him?
Because
Because
they
of-
were coming in. So all
Oh my
Okay,
God.
but hold on.
so
It wasn't.
all the bachelor
It was like
were
4 or
coming
5
in.
of us.
Okay.
Yeah,
there.
I didn't know. Nor did I care.
Yeah.
I was like,
And
I'm
yeah,
just
it
here
is
to have a
really
good
silly
time.
though, because like, yes, for a certain period of time after we go on that show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with a very specific demographic, we are semi like
Yeah.
famous.
Oh, yeah.
However,
I experienced it.
like in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
it's like J-list.
I mean,
like it is not. It is like
One quote
I
you said.
definitely humbled him. I definitely was like,
really?
I don't know who you are.
well, hold on.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But like, really, they do treat like for a certain period of time, like while the show is airing and right afterward, you do have a little bit of notoriety or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah.
But as soon as the next season comes out, you're nothing.
No, I remember we were going to some bar one night, and
yeah.
you're like, yeah, what's the bouncer gonna say? Like, oh yeah, you were on 4 episodes of some reality show about you.
Well, because I would always have friends that are like, Hunter can get us in. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, I can't.
like you were
Like, what do you think that I am?
seemed like that though at the time.
At
It
times,
really did,
in
dude.
certain places,
Like,
it was. We could do that, but it was
It was
and
that popular. That
To
show.
be fair, I think Austin is definitely one of those
Oh.
places.
Austin is a hot spot for bachelor
Austin,
nation.
like if you're in like
That too.
Nashville, Austin, like all those
Okay.
little, like
When she
big
experienced it a
bachelor
lot, like
cities.
she got tired of that.
Oh, you did experience it a lot.
Well, because I was living in Austin at the time, and so when he would come and see me in Austin,
It was
everybody,
bonkers.
well, not everybody. It's like I was in kind of like the scene of Austin. It's a very small scene,
Yeah.
right? And so I was kind of in the scene. I had all my friends, so we would go out to all the bars with
Yeah.
like all the young kids. And it was like anytime I would walk in with Hunter, I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's Hunter! My last shot!"
Yeah.
Like, ugh, this is so annoying.
Did
I'm
it
like,
really get on your nerve? Did it bother you?
it totally did. I was
Yeah.
like,
At one point, she told me to lie, and this didn't work out. Like,
I did tell her to
Why?
lie. I said, so like, what if somebody were to come up to you and you just said, no, I
Yeah.
don't know who that is,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's
and just
fine.
play
and I was like,
along.
it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna work. And she was like, have you tried it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, because she does this all
That's
the time.
funny, yeah.
She holds me accountable. She calls me out. She's
Yeah.
like, have you tried not having artificial sweeteners on your oatmeal? And I'm like, it's not gonna work. And she's like, have you tried it? And then I tried. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So like, we see someone
Yeah.
in Austin, like literally 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
This girl runs up and she's like, oh my God, Hunter, like, can we get a picture? And I was like, what? Who are you? What are you talking about? And she's like, can we get a picture? Like, I can't believe we're meeting
Yeah.
here. And I was like, who? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're Hunter, you were on Bachelorette Katie season, like, I'm not
She
done.
knew, yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, like, and she looks over at Danielle and she goes, and you're Daniella, Hunter's girlfriend.
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
and
like,
yeah.
I knew who I was.
And I
too.
literally, at that point, I
Oh.
felt so validated because I was like, see?
Yeah, I
It's
know,
not
right?
gonna work. Like, they even know you right
Yeah.
now. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
at that point, they, I guess, knew who I was too.
That's
so I was like, oh,
crazy.
well, we can't really lie, I guess.
But
But he tried it.
Yeah, he did try.
you didn't. So, but you weren't into all the hype and watching
No.
it.
well,
and that.
not that season. I mean,
It's and it's funny. I was and still am a big
Oh,
Bachelor fan.
really? Okay.
It just so happened that his season, for whatever reason, I didn't watch it. I
well,
was
you were traveling.
going out of town a lot.
Okay,
I was
yeah,
in
yeah.
Europe most of that summer that his season aired.
Gotcha.
And so I missed it.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I
Thank goodness you didn't
Parts
see it.
Yeah.
of it. Like, it was funny because when I met his friend Connor, it took me a minute, but I put two and two together because my friend had been sending me cat memes of
Yeah.
Connor because he was like the cat
Yeah,
guy
yeah, the
on
cat
the
dude,
show.
yeah.
I never
And
saw
like
that.
Yeah.
me and my girlfriend love it, and so she would send me all these memes from their season.
Okay, yeah.
And so it was like I kind of knew a select few of them, but
Okay,
didn't
yeah.
really know because I didn't watch.
Gotcha.
And so it was.
I mean,
like,
she sat down next to me. I was a little bit grumpy
Mhm.
because I had been talking to a girl that left.
Yeah.
She sits down next to me and she goes, look, I don't know who you are. I don't know who any of y'all are. I don't care. My feet hurt. I just want to sit down.
I just wanna
and
sit.
like, to me, I was like,
I like you.
tell me more. Because at that point in time, like, trying to date was very, like, difficult, right? You go on the
Why?
dating apps because no one wanted to actually date me. They wanted to go on a date with a guy that had been on TV.
Did you do any of that?
Did I do what?
Go on dates with people?
Oh, I tried. Yeah.
What was
but,
it
like,
like? Was it weird?
I mean, honestly, like, yeah, it was weird, and I like some of the dates were it was very clear that like they just wanted to talk about the show. And, like,
Oh,
behind the
wow.
scenes, They
Yeah.
wanted to be able to say, and then other girls. I mean, I went on dates with some girls that had literally never even watched the
Yeah.
show at all.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like, well, they're gonna obviously Google me right after this, or they
Yeah.
already have. So it was just difficult because I didn't know who to trust with this.
Oh.
With when I met Danielle, this
oh, I
situation.
Googled you.
But there had to be something else. So
There was plenty to look at after I met you.
yeah.
Well, yeah, she had her friends that were like,
Oh my
I don't know
friends
about
were like,
her.
I don't know
Like,
about this
Oh, I'm
one.
sure. But there had to be something else because, I mean, just to be honest, you had a lot of options. And so there was something that drew you to Danielle. Like,
well, no,
it?
don't get me wrong. Like, so she
Well, I know
says,
you had a lot of beautiful
she
girls.
tells me like, I don't know who you are. But then I was like, so I have nothing to lose with this girl. She's a beautiful girl. She brought me topo. Like what I didn't say is when she sat down, she was like, here. And she was like, and by the way, and I was like, wait, first of all, you just handed me a topo. She didn't know I was sober.
That's crazy, yeah.
And so like, I was like, I don't have anything to lose with this girl. And so I just looked at her and I was like, so what are you what are you doing? Why are your feet hurting? And she's like, well, I was just on a date. And I was like, well, was it a good date? And she was like, yeah, it was a really good date. And I was like, but you're here.
Yeah.
Right now.
What happened?
And I was like, so it's not that good of a date.
Yeah.
She's like, and she's kind of like smiling. I go, okay, this guy. And we just started talking. We talked about divorce. We commiserated a little bit about how terrible the dating scene was.
Okay.
And because like at that time, I was kind of dating in Austin because I went there like so much at that period of time. But we were both so fed up with the culture and the scene of dating.
Really?
And
you were even?
I was. And like
and you were too. I mean, you had done that a lot, like been in that, and because I've been there.
It had been about a year since I was divorced, a little over a year.
Yeah.
And I had been in Austin, and I feel like Austin is like Peter Pan syndrome central,
right? No, it is.
I got divorced, and I remember saying, like, everybody was like, oh, so you don't want to get married again? I was like, no, I absolutely still want to get married.
Yeah.
Like, I still want to be in a serious relationship, and I still want to, but Austin is definitely not the place to go if you want to.
That's right. No, it's like dating capital of the world.
It's like real bad.
Yeah.
And then you meet someone.
Yeah.
You get married.
And then, all of a sudden I meet somebody in Austin, but he wasn't living in Austin. So I feel like that was a little bit of the difference, too.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, she didn't trust, at that point, like, she really didn't trust me. In fact, like, we spent, like, so I remember the next day, like, I kissed her that night. We were going to hang out the next day. She kind of ghosted me. And then she calls me, she FaceTimes me at, like, 6 a.m, the day after she ghosted me.
Yeah.
And I had already told my friends, like, I'm done with this girl. She's another game player.
Yeah. Oh, man.
The blonde girl, she's out.
Yeah.
But then she FaceTimes me, and I'm like, this girl, what is... And I answer, and she's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I fell asleep last night. And I was like, you didn't fall asleep. And she's like, I promise I fell asleep. In retrospect,
he knows now.
Yeah.
I'm a grandma. I'm in bed by 8:30.
That's funny.
But she was like, hey, like, I want you to go on a boat with me today for my birthday. It's a barge. Cool. And I was like, yeah, but you say cool, but Matt, think about, like, the idea of these barges in Austin. You go on one of these boats, you're there. You're stuck there for 8 hours. You're not getting off. And also, like, I didn't know about this girl, and I didn't know if she was bringing, like, 30 guys.
You're not drinking either.
I'm not drinking. Yeah. And, like, I've been on boats before where I've been asked to go by a girl, and I show up, and the girl's there with, like, 30 like, roided out, like, bros.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I was like, hey, I don't know, like, am I, like, are you asking me to go with you?
Right.
Or am I just going to be one of the 30 guys there? I don't really want to commit to this if it's going to be, like, terrible.
What was it like? Did you go?
Well, so I was like, let me figure this out. I hang up. I go to talk to, like, Colin, and Connor. And my guy's like, she wants me to go on a boat. And they're like, oh, no, a boat. I don't know about a boat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know. We know about boats. And then I get a message from Daniella here of her in a bathing suit, a thong bathing suit, saying,
what?
This is...
Well, because when we were on the phone, when I was trying to convince him to come on the boat, I was trying to tie my swimsuit. And so I said, I'm having so much trouble tying my swimsuit. I'm going to hang up. I'm like, you just call me back if you want to.
This is a ploy. So I get the picture of her in a bathing suit, and I was like, well, guys, I'm going on the boat.
Absolutely.
So I'm on the boat.
That was smart.
I know what your car
Best decision I've ever made. Like, we spent the day together. It was amazing.
It was great. We had so much fun.
And so, like,
we really had the best.
I came back, spent the night in Austin, and then, like, the next morning, I told her, like, hey, I want to see you again. Like, I don't, like, let's continue to do this. And she's like, look, go back. You need to go back to Houston, to your life, and let's be real. And think about it if you really want this. Because she didn't trust me. She's like, this is reality TV.
I was like, you're like head over heels right now. You're on a high from like staying over and all the things. I was like, but like go back to your life and see if you really want to call me.
And see, this
like,
part of the
really
problem.
Keep seeing me.
Like with dating culture, because she had been not abused, but she had been through the ringer of the dating scene. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I put girls through that same ringer, like being kind of a jerk in dating, like saying one thing, doing another, acting like you're ready for commitment, but not, having a roster of girls. And she had been on the other side of that, and frankly, probably dished out some of that too. So she didn't think that she could trust me.
Right, for sure.
But I was sincere. And so, like, that day, I, like, sent her flowers. And then the next day, I, like, said, I don't know, I was calling her. I was texting her.
Yeah.
And she thought immediately, is this love bombing?
I was
what's
confused.
that mean?
Well, it's like...
It's like when you overdo it, like to like
lust kind of.
Yeah, like it's almost like grooming someone. It's like you're.
But what's with an
overdoing
intention of like not being sincere?
Right.
Yeah,
and you're trying to just get something out of someone or win someone. Just the prize of winning.
Okay.
And then once you've won them, you leave.
I see.
But for me, like, I kept telling her, like, hey, what do I need to do? Like, and her friends were, and I get it, they're protecting her, but they're like, hey, I don't know, might be love bombing. Like, it's a guy from reality TV.
Right.
And so I just didn't give up. And eventually she was like, okay, look, I'll come see you. We'll spend some time together and we'll figure out, like, if this is...
Yeah.
And it was. Like,
well, what happened on the boat that there was some kind of connection? What happened? Like, what moment? What happened to where you both kind of were like, okay, there's something magical going on here?
Honestly, I just remember saying, I'm not into guys with tattoos. I don't know why I like you so much.
I mean,
really?
she would say that and then make out with me.
Yeah. What did you think, though?
Like,
there was something...
attraction to him. Yeah. Like, something just kept pulling
that's what I mean.
to
Like,
him.
she would look at me. I was her, literally, this sounds so cheesy. It was her eyes.
No.
And I told her this, but the way that she was looking at me...
Yeah.
She was like, it was like she had seen the water and she'd been in a desert. Like, she was just like so enamored with me.
That's what I wanted to know.
And I, like, for me, like, she was just being so, she was giving me a lot of her presence and attention.
Yeah, and it was
her
real.
friends would come up and other dudes would come up and she was just like,
that's
and I was
badass.
like, this is
really
and it sounds a little egotistical that, like, that's what I liked, is that she paid attention to only me. But we were in our own world.
Yes.
And, like, everything else disappeared.
Dude, that's cool.
And then, like, it continued. And the other thing, I'm going to be honest, like, we get back to her apartment that night. She starts, like, crying to me about some personal shit. Like, some real shit.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Like, that's... No, some guys would be like, "Oh my gosh, get whatever, like, get me out of here."
Yeah.
But, like, for me, I was so, like, into that.
Yeah.
It just made it more realistic.
Yeah.
And, like, she was opening up to me, and
that's right.
I opened up to her, and I think that was kind of what it was.
It was a real connection.
And that was another reason why, like, we jumped in, like, pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to. Like,
I do too.
Sometimes you just have to, like, dive in.
That's right. When it's like that.
Don't hold back. And that's why I was like, look, love bombing or not, I'm going to keep bombing you.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah, he was very intentional.
Dude, I like that.
Because I did tell him I was skeptical of him, and he just said, okay, well, I mean, I'm going to just keep trying, and you're just going to figure out eventually that this isn't love bombing. And I really
exactly.
like you.
Well, and then came the hard part, though, right? Because then we had to get, like, serious about, now that you trust me, and now that we're going to try to make this work, what about the kids? What about the TikTok? What about the girls on social media? What about your cringy
the rubber
social
hits the
media?
road,
like need to be on social media, all these things. And you met her about a year
at Sean's
9 months into it, where we were still 6 months into it.
Wow.
And it was like 3 or 4 months.
We were still kind of in the what I would call, like, the throes of trying to, like, figure out. I had this relationship with social media that was very toxic.
Why was it toxic?
Well, because I depended on people to slide into my DMs or to comment on my stuff or to respond to my story to tell me you're pretty. Oh my God, we loved you on the show.
Right.
Oh my God, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And she was telling me, hey, like, you have beautiful kids. You have me. You have an amazing career.
So
like,
she brought
you have a great family. You have an amazing sister. Like, why do you need strangers to tell you they love you? And at first, I was defensive because I generally am. You know, I'm kind of defensive human.
Yeah.
Really defensive. Which she has helped me with a lot.
Yeah.
Like at first, I was like, why are you controlling my life? Like, don't try to change me. And she's like, but you need to be changed.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with right.
Yeah.
I look back, like, and it's funny because we talk about social media a lot.
Yeah.
And like you're starting a business. Your stuff is like for the right reason, if you will. And so when you ask me about following and all that stuff, like for me, it's a weird subject because like I was so like in such a bad place getting that following, and like it's not that I regret it because it got. I mean, I wouldn't have met her for all that, but like it was a dark time in my life. I look back at some of the videos and like some of the things that I was doing, and it's not that it was like inappropriate stuff. It was just like so cringy.
Well, I think there's a difference between building a following off of just validation and building a following when you have like a business and you're targeting people and you have a market and you're trying to build a following to then eventually monetize, but not necessarily monetize in such a way that's where they're dictating what your brand is, right?
Ooh, that's good.
What your brand is.
Yeah, that's good.
And you're sticking to that. And it was like his brand was whoever was willing to follow him for whatever he was doing.
Okay. Yeah.
It really wasn't.
And I really did use my platform for. I talked about addiction a lot.
No, it was so.
And I still do like
good things.
When I do podcast stuff today, or when I do anything that has to do with that, it's generally around mental health. Yeah. So it's not that I like. Again, there are good parts to it.
Absolutely.
But overall, like, and she calls me out on this. Like what I was trying to get out of social media was approval. Yeah. And people telling me that I'm good enough. It wasn't, I need to grow this following so that I can talk about mental health.
That's right. Okay.
It was, I need people to like me. Since I have a following, why don't I go ahead and let them know, hey, there's a way to get sober from addiction.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I see that.
Makes sense. Yeah, dude. Wow, that's crazy. And what about you with social media? What was your relationship like with social media?
I mean, I feel like normal with social media.
Yeah.
It was like just my life.
Post-divorce, there was a little bit of...
I think the naughtiness, right? Like the thirstiness when post-divorce. I'm a thirst monster. But, I mean, for the most part, I only have like 2,000 followers. I only follow people I know. Who follow me, I know. Now it's changing a little bit now that I'm trying to kind of build a following with my Pilates.
Exactly.
But again, it's more of a business.
That's right.
It's weird though because I'm sure you get this all the time where it's like you kind of teeter between that business and personal where it's like you have to get personal for people to follow you.
That's right.
But like you also have to make sure it's still like in line with like your business.
That's
goals.
Right. Yes.
But it's like it's a really weird line.
It is.
To teeter.
Yeah. You're right.
And I think it's really going to test our relationship because so much at the beginning of our relationship was me telling him, "Your social media is bad. Your social media is bad," and now. It's flipped.
Yeah.
Now it's like
I closed my DMs early on. It was very, and I get it, like, because if I would have started dating her and she had been on reality TV and all these dudes sliding in her DMs every day and commenting like, "Oh my God, you're so hot."
That'd be hard, dude.
It would, and so like I think for us, we've kind of gotten to a place finally where we don't worry about that. Like people still comment on my stuff,
right?
Women still, but like
for sure,
we've kind of done away with that, and so now she's, posting videos every day that are fitness videos. Mm-hmm. She's got a good body.
Yeah.
She looks.
I have yet to have a man slide in my DMs.
No way.
I swear.
I
don't have a good enough following. I don't think.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
that was my next question.
I can believe that too.
Shocked. I'm actually like not in a conceited way, but I'm actually shocked that I still haven't had men slide into
That's
my
wild.
DMs.
Yeah.
Are you on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I just started about a month ago, a little over a month ago.
And I believe you 100%
Yeah.
because I was doing the whole Ozempic thing where
Yeah.
I lost 75 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And so I was looking on my TikTok and, I'd be in my swimsuit and
Right.
95% were
Girls.
women.
Yeah.
Watching.
I
And was
usually
shocked.
have women.
It's so true. And
It's mostly women sliding
Yeah.
in being like, oh,
Yeah.
a super cute set. Like, where'd you
Yeah.
get that? Or,
Yes.
oh my gosh, like, my back
Right.
hurt. Like, I just got one that's like, oh, I have a really bad back. I love what you just taught. Like, is there anything that would help me with my back? And I said, okay, well, you can switch positions. So it's really women that
That's
are
cool.
following
Okay.
this,
Yeah.
really
which I
true.
appreciate now. Like, I'm like trying to thrive in that space where it's just kind of, and it's really positive too, which I'm shocked at as well.
It's so nice.
It's so
and
nice.
That's cool.
respectful.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's so
It's-
nice
that's
to
cool.
have.
But
people
I
that are
will
like
say,
that.
like, it won't be. I mean, and I don't
Yeah.
mean that
That's
necessarily.
true.
What I mean
That's
is
true.
that when you go from 1,000 followers to
Yeah.
30,000
I'm sure.
to 50,000,
Yeah.
that's when the hate you starts. Now she's a lot better about that than I am.
It
Like,
doesn't bother
even for
me.
me, like, I was still like deep into the comment section, if you will, when we started dating, where there'd be an article posted about me or something negative, and I would be like reading it, and she'd be like, "Why are you reading that?" You know? And she's, she's right. Like, I gave so much. Again, it's I gave so much attention to strangers when they either said something really nice about me or something hateful about me, and I let it affect me. I think for her, like, when if she gets into that type of following, she'll be a lot better about just being like, okay, whatever, like, move on.
Yeah.
She's very good about.
Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't really get under my skin.
That's good. Yeah.
And I think you attract what you put out there as well. Not that you were putting out anything negative at all.
No. Yeah.
But I do feel like, in general, like you're speaking to it, is like if you're putting out a lot of positive energy, like even that negative energy just kind of gets drowned out so quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, in like the people that were interacting with me were people that watch reality TV, which they can be very ruthless.
Exactly.
Group of
Exactly.
folks.
Yeah.
where I think fitness and women in fitness, I think.
Yeah, it's much more uplifting and positive.
That's right. Yeah.
For
sure.
Very uplifting.
Yes, positive.
So where do you want to take that? What would be the ultimate goal for you?
Well, it's funny because there's so many different avenues that you can go with it. Right now, really the only goal I have is to build a following to eventually maybe sell merchandise or even do like events, like showing up to events and doing like really big group fitness.
Cool.
Right? Like
so
on a
fun.
stage.
I love
and, like,
that.
bringing all my mats and equipment and doing like a big
Yeah.
class.
That'd be great.
I've been doing group fitness now for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
group fitness is where, like, literally
You
my
love it.
heart is
Yeah,
at.
I love
teaching
that too.
groups. I love teaching lots of
It's
people.
fun. Yeah.
I love teaching all levels of people. Like,
Yeah.
my favorite thing is to really help people that are self-conscious about being in fitness.
Yeah.
And so I think so much of what we see on TikTok, especially, I think Instagram's a little bit better, but TikTok, it's like, you see so many of these like fitness influencers that are all like, like real thin and this is what I eat for a day and and that can be such an
Or how to get abs in a
or
week.
how to get abs and like all that.
So
Or like
know
a
it.
12-day ab plan.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Yeah,
that
super
much
hilarious.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you of all people know how.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's,
stupid. It's
fitness.
ridiculous.
It's
Yeah.
so ridiculous. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's really supposed to be this long-term thing. And you're
Exactly.
supposed to have such a healthy relationship with fitness
Yeah.
and maybe not have expectations of abs in 12 days.
Exactly.
Or abs at all. It
Yeah,
should be like
exactly.
health.
It's
Yeah.
just about
Make you
health
feel
and
good.
mental health too, right? And so
Yeah.
I think for me, the ultimate kind of vision of it is just like making fitness accessible, and that's why I do 5-minute videos right now on
Nice.
TikTok and Reels. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't want people to be intimidated. I try my best to put together 5-minute, like, I would say easy workouts, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like something someone can literally just get
I
on
like
the floor and
Yeah.
do just to
I like
move their body without the goal being
Absolutely.
like get snatched or get like a shelf ass, and it's like, okay,
Right.
well,
No, I agree. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just start with getting on this mat and moving.
That's right.
I
Like,
love
let's
good
do
stuff.
something together.
Yes.
I have
What is
quality.
your page called? What,
It's a Pilates by Daniella. So Pilates with 2 I's and then
'Cause
dot
like
by Daniella.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So it's,
okay, cool. Yeah.
it's
Nice.
I'll have to share it with you.
Absolutely.
After, but yeah,
We'll
it's
put
like
it on the
HIIT and
episode.
Pilates. So I mix a little
I
bit
like
of
it.
strength training.
I love
heck
that.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start.
All right.
It's so
Definitely.
much fun. I really enjoy
All
doing
right. So y'all, when did you get married?
April.
April.
And what did y'all do for the wedding?
Well, the wedding, theoretically, that's not our wedding. We're getting married in Italy.
Oh, when?
Yeah, we're local.
That's right. That's
Just
right.
us.
When?
Us too. In August.
In August. So we had to do it in the States. We had to get our
Yeah.
to do it. So we did it. And we were originally just going to go get the paper and be done with it. But then it was kind of this thing where we were like, well, I mean, if it's going to be like the legal marriage, we should at least have our folks there and our family.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah.
so then we were going to have the family there. And then we're like, if we're going to have the family there,
Yeah.
we should at least have a dinner.
Yeah.
And that turned into like,
Yeah, so it ended up being
Yeah.
like a mini wedding.
Yeah.
it was like a
It was
very, very
great.
intimate.
That's cool. Yeah.
We had a few, like, stools there.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Where was it at?
It was in Houston.
Houston.
Okay, cool.
So we got
What-
married at the courthouse, and
Yeah.
then we just met with our family for dinner. So it was
Cool.
just like a
Yeah.
really sweet, just intimate night with our family.
That's awesome.
20 people.
Did y'all do a honeymoon? Or is it going to
That's
be
It's
Italy?
gonna be in Italy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then
okay.
we're gonna do a ceremony in Italy, like a more like wedding. Like I'll be in a wedding dress. Kind of thing.
Nice.
And then we're
Oh,
gonna
that's
have dinner.
cool, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited.
That's going to be beautiful. We're out in Italy.
Positano.
Positano.
Where's that at?
Southern Italy, so the
Okay.
Amalfi Coast. Like
Okay.
you probably have seen it all over
You've
Instagram.
seen it.
It's all that blue
Really?
water.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've never been there,
Excited.
right? So that's another thing, like with Daniella, when we met,
Yeah.
she's grown up traveling. Like she's always traveled, and I don't mean like
You're
For
talking
me, like-
about extravagant.
yeah, like I
not
never
Six
even-
Flags or like
yeah, like
yeah, like
not
that.
SeaWorld.
Yeah,
like actually traveling. And so like
Yeah.
we met like I don't even know if I had a passport. Like it was
Yeah.
like and she was like so
dang.
she had all of these. She's like just so you know like we're gonna travel.
I
We're gonna
love
be
that.
there.
Yeah,
And I mean I was like okay that's fine, but it was just like everything else that we've been through. And
Yeah.
what I love about Danielle is that she's really like got me out of my comfort zone. Like, she's
yeah. I've
made me
noticed
actually
that, dude.
really question like why I say no to things and like
Interesting.
why I always look for reasons that things will work and focus on why they could work.
Wow.
And even with the kids,
what a
Like
compliment,
even,
for real.
even with the kids, like with the kids,
Whoa.
there's so many things that like I as a dad, I think I was failing in or not doing the best job I could because I would say, well, no, they can't do that or they're not old enough to do that or they
Yeah.
won't be okay and like Daniela has kind of helped me realize like they can like
Wow.
just because my son's afraid to do this ride like maybe if I go up to the top with him and help him and show him
Yeah.
to do it then he will and so like
That's
there's
cool.
there's just been a lot of growth like I've had like I went and found my dream job and I would have never even done it I would have never even looked elsewhere but she was like hey like I think that you're super talented you're
Yeah.
super smart I hear you like at work
Yeah.
I think that you could go and like you could get any job you want
Yeah.
and
Heck yeah.
I told her like no but I'm in a really good company like great
Yeah.
benefits I make great money she's like yeah but so what like if you think you could do better like go do better
Dude,
and I was like,
talking
and I went
about.
and did it, and like, I think there's just a pattern of that with.
Dude, I was just having this conversation with somebody else about how, for me, I need to be with somebody that helps pull me up. You know,
Yeah.
in what ways did Hunter do that for you? Would you say?
Oh man, he's helped me so much. I think just in terms of like more patience, to be honest.
Really?
Like, I think when I met him, I mean, obviously just by what he's saying, I'm like very much a go-getter, and it's
Yeah.
like, I am a bulldozer.
Whoa.
Like I am like, put something in front of me, I will figure out how to get it done.
That's cool.
And once I have my mind set to something, no.
Wow.
one can tell
Where were
me
you
no.
born? Are you January?
I'm a Virgo,
Okay.
so I'm September.
Yeah.
We're very structured
Yeah.
people, and pretty hard-headed too.
Yeah.
And so once I have my mindset on something,
And nothing will stop.
Nothing will get
So in
in the
what
way
ways
of
were
it.
you impatient
And
a little?
so I was really impatient with Hunter. He's so much more emotional than I am.
Yeah,
like
so
a
am I, yeah.
lot more emotional.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh,
very,
yeah.
very
For
sensitive.
sure. Yeah.
And I'm very much transactional sometimes.
Okay.
I'm very like, okay, get it done at any
Yep.
cost. Doesn't matter. If
Well,
it's
yeah, and like she'll
everything.
just like she'll say exactly what needs to be said or how she feels exactly.
Yeah.
With no filter, and like I've
And
had
you
to
don't
like
take it at
soften
face
her.
value.
Yeah, well, I've had to
Or
soften her and be like, hey, like
Well,
you're
yes.
never gonna get anywhere with me if you deliver your message.
That's
that
right.
way.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
That's
and
right.
like,
Okay.
and she, I think like
Whoa.
she had to like really sit down and think.
It's so difficult for me, and he's really challenged.
Interesting.
He's challenged me to now, because I'm very direct. The way I describe it, very direct.
Yeah.
And so with him, I have to pause a lot. I have to say like, okay, and not to say sugarcoat it, but I have to say like, okay, think about what is the best way to deliver this to Hunter in a way in which he's going to listen to me versus feeling attacked, right? And so, because we've talked about it already, he's already fundamentally a little bit defensive.
I'm just like,
sure.
And
Yeah.
someone will be like, "Do you want your coffee with creamer?" I'm like, "Do you think I love cream?" Like,
Yeah, like it's almost immediate. Almost immediate.
Yeah, so bad. Like, it is my
But it's
worst.
gotten so much better, dude, over the years.
Well, I hope.
You know?
I mean, I know.
Oh,
I don't,
dude.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my
I mean,
God. I don't know.
you'd feel like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I
so mad? I'm not. Yeah.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Why am I?
Why am I a bitch?
he gets so defensive so quick, so it's made me have to really say like, okay, what is a way in which I can speak more softly to somebody and more mindful of their feelings and more mindful of like this could come off as
For sure.
an attack.
Were you raised that way, like with your parents? Are they very direct with you like that?
You know, I guess so. My mom is pretty sensitive, but my whole family, we all just say everything.
Really?
Like none of us sugarcoat things. We all just say what's on our mind.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of roll with the punches. And none of us, he always laughs about it because when he comes and hangs out with me and my family, we will say like the meanest things. But
No
it just
joke.
but it just rolls off of us. Like it doesn't
In what way? What, like,
phase us.
but like.
I mean, we're just so critical of each other. I think we're just
Oh,
really
really?
critical.
Yeah.
But, like, we find it funny. Like, that's our humor is to just, like, poke fun and criticize each other.
Interesting.
And that's just been my whole dynamic.
Like,
It's just always
and it still happens sometimes with
calling
us. Like,
out things.
she'll say like,
I see.
She'll say like, "Oh my God, like, you just gave me the ick," and I'm like.
and you'll see he'll be
I'm like,
so
wait, I'm like, what do you mean? I gave you the ick. I'm like, it's like I should not.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be able to give you the ick where you're my partner.
I would
like,
kind of feel the same way. Like I'm like him in that sense.
and like 3 days later, I'll be like, so like, is it when I actually say yes, like from the office, or is it when I?
Yeah,
She's like, are you still thinking about that? I'm like, yeah. I haven't slept in 3 days.
I haven't slept. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dang.
so it's like being around somebody, I'm not used to that really ever, right? And so being around somebody that I now have to be so much more mindful of the impact of my words.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm, in my family and including me, like we just talked about how like when somebody says something negative, it literally, it's like bounces right off of me, does not bother me because it just.
But we both have
superpower in a way.
We both have had to like so, and the whole thing is, she's on this side, I'm on this side, and we both had to be like, this is probably I could probably be a little bit more moderate in the way that I am. And so like when she says something to me now, like I try my best to like stop for 5 seconds and remember like who is it that's saying this to me and why is she saying it? Because 9 times out of 10, like she's telling me something generally that I can fix or that I can correct or be better about because she believes in me and because she sees the good in me and because she knows I'm good enough to do it a different way. And so instead of me thinking she's telling me I'm not enough or I'm a bad partner or I'm a shitty dad, she's saying, hey, maybe you should think about this more because I think you could serve your kids better if you did this way. She's not saying you're a shit dad. She's saying, hey, have you thought about it this way? And she's trying to make me
Is it ever, this may be a little sensitive, but is it ever passive aggressive?
No.
Or are you always pretty direct?
I'm
Or it's
pretty
what you see,
direct.
what you get. Like what you're saying is what you mean.
I
It's
mean-
never like there's something a little more behind
I
a little stick.
Sometimes there
I
is.
do get
Yeah.
a little passive aggressive, but it's more so when I can't think of an example. It's more so like if I feel like hurt, I'll like make like
Yeah.
a
She'll
slide.
say something like,
Yeah.
"Well, I guess
Yeah.
we're not gonna hang out." then."
Yeah, I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, so I guess you're not
Do you
gonna
hold the
wash that
resistance ever for
dish."
that?
I do, and here's the problem: I hold silent resentments, and
Same
those
here.
are the worst. And so what happens typically is I won't, and this is a difference between me and her. I won't speak my mind in the moment.
Yeah,
Right?
same
She'll be
here.
on her phone or something, and I'll think to myself, "We're supposed to be watching a movie. She's on her phone.
Yeah.
We're watching Bridgerton.
Yeah.
She should be paying attention with me."
Yeah.
And she's not, but I'm going to be a cool husband, and I'm going
Right.
to let her be on her phone, because I know, like, sometimes I like to be on my phone. I want to be cool. I don't want to be controlling. So then, like, a day later, she'll say to me, "Hey, babe, like, we're supposed to be watching Bridgerton. You're on your phone." And I'm like, "The fuck we are. You were on your
Yeah,
phone
yeah,
yesterday
yeah.
at 4:38 p.m.
Yeah,
And she's like,
that's right. Yeah. So
she's
that's
like, "What are you-"
exactly.
And so, like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Here's the thing, Hunter, like, if you would have told me at 4:38 yesterday that you didn't want me to be on my phone while we were watching TV, I would have been like, okay, and I would have put it up."
How would you have reacted to that?
She
Seriously,
probably would have been
That would
fine.
have been fine.
you wouldn't. Yeah. Okay.
It
Yeah.
doesn't. I call him out so quickly, and
Yeah.
I expect that in return. Like I don't mind being called out. Sometimes I get defensive.
Yeah.
One of the issues
It's rare, but most of the time, especially if he's like, "Hey, get off your phone," I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." Like I'm
Okay. That's good.
and I'll say that nothing's wrong, and it's like the age-old story. Like, generally,
Yep.
something is wrong.
Yep.
And we've gotten a long way here for me, like, opening up.
Uh-huh.
But she's one that, like, let's get it all out on the table
Yeah.
right now.
Right
I
now.
want
And
to
have it out.
That's right.
And for me, I'm such an avoidant in that
Me too.
regard that I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck that. I don't want to fight.
Same
I
here.
don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want conflict.
Yeah.
I just want to kiss you and then
Yeah.
talk about something. we
And
saw
then it comes
together.
out sideways
But what
later.
happens is, like, that builds and
Right.
builds and builds,
Yeah.
and then at some point it erupts.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, we're both guilty of that. I think all
Yeah.
couples are
I do
guilty of
too.
it.
I do too.
think, but that's my problem, is that, like, I need to have more trust in her
Mhm.
to be able to say, "Hey, like, what you're doing is making me feel X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
Can
Yeah.
you
It's
not?
hard to do
Like, can you
though.
not do
but-
that?"
Yeah. I know. And so, what is was there ever like do you feel like, all couples argue, obviously, but do you feel like y'all argued more early on?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it something y'all have gotten better at?
Oh my gosh. So I think we almost touched on it earlier, but like because we fell so hard so fast.
Yeah.
We were like, I mean, it was
Ooh.
like hitting the ground running.
Yep.
Like we fell in love and we were like, let's do this.
Yep.
And we didn't really pause. to
Right.
be
It's like we can worry about all that later,
Yeah.
all the setting expectations
Well,
and
and
all
then
that.
you have to.
But then we
adapt
did
it.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit.
And
We,
Like,
we laid the gauntlet down.
Yeah.
And, like,
Oh, really?
So it was like we were having, like, pretty hardcore, like, conversations and arguments early on, and it was almost like we had sped up our relationship so much that we, like, got into some of those, like, we didn't skip the honeymoon phase, but, like, in terms of arguing and
Mhm.
being able to, like, say how we felt, like,
Yeah.
I think some of the conflict that we had early on was
Yeah.
very helpful to us, because
Okay.
that allowed us to understand we can get through some shitty times.
Ooh,
and some
that's true.
I mean, think about it. I was a single father, divorced, coming off reality TV,
Yeah.
in recovery with eating disorder, with
Oh,
body
yeah.
dysmorphia, with, like, an addiction to working out, and, like, that's a lot.
That is a
and
lot.
she had her. I'm not going to speak for her, but she had her own
Yeah.
baggage too.
Yeah.
And, like, we were trying to, like, put our lives together.
Uh-huh.
And, like, she's never been a mom. She's never had children,
Yeah.
and yet I had, like, very young children.
That's something
And
to
I
talk
had
about.
like, because I'd been through the divorce, and because I had so much trauma around
Yeah.
the hurt that I felt I caused my children, I was very protective of that.
Mhm.
And, like, it's trying to balance, like, the time and priority and energy that you're giving your new partner versus your children, that you don't want them to feel more abandoned than maybe they already did.
Yeah.
And, like, doing all of that, like, we had a lot to do. And then,
man.
like, I sometimes think about, like, I feel for people that are newly divorced going into this world, because it's hard. Like, it's
Yeah.
really hard to get over that trauma and, like, trust someone again. And,
That's
like,
right.
she made me trust again.
Yeah. How long did that take, though, for you to really...
Man,
A couple years.
Whoa!
I mean, on and on. Like, but like
years,
when I
6 months of like the hardcore
when I
fight.
like I would say like, but what I mean by a couple of years is like
Wow.
we were still having conflict after the first year about like prioritizing her over other things in my life. Like I there are times when I wouldn't get a babysitter when we had the kids, because I was like, if it's my weekend with the kids, if it's our weekend with the kids, we're not leaving their side. And like there are times when that just isn't practical.
Okay.
And like if we're ever gonna be a practical real family,
right,
we had to start getting into a pattern of like, maybe it's okay if we spend 2 hours away from the children,
right,
even if it's our weekend. And
yeah,
so like,
yeah.
I was still, and honestly, like, I'm probably always still gonna have some.
Yeah.
Well, I think what he's touching on is, they call it like perpetual issues, right? Like those are issues that we're going to revisit throughout our relationship a lot, right? Where you have to check in with your partner and you have to say, okay, we've talked about this before, but now we're in a different situation, similar situation. Now we kind of have to go through it again. And it's becoming more and more efficient at communicating when those problems arise.
Yeah, get better at it.
But those will be problems perpetually.
Yep.
Like those will be issues forever for Hunter, is trying to find the balance between me, his children, his own personal struggles, and like seeing, you know, kind of, we have to keep revisiting and
and like the addiction thing, in this, you know, this is something you and I just bond over tremendously. But like, I think Daniella has been so graceful, like with me, with the addiction stuff. And I don't mean it that like I'm banging oxys in the closet.
Yeah.
What I mean is like, just because I got sober, 17 or whatever years ago it was, that doesn't mean that my addiction problems went away.
That's right.
And like, I have eating disorder issues, I have body dysmorphia issues, I have like, I'm very addicted to working out.
Yeah.
And so she's been really good about, like, I mean, that's a lot to deal with as a partner.
It is.
And she's been really good about like slowly like grounding me and having me understand like, hey, this may be delving into like the addiction world. Like, and the problem we had like a really serious conversation the other day of like, I struggle because anytime I find something that I like, I have to be so careful about doing it, because like I will latch onto it and I will do it and do it and do it and do it, and then it will take over everything else. And it could be something as stupid as gardening.
That's right.
But it could literally, like, I'll be in like watering the grass at 3 a.m. Like, I mean, I'm an addict.
I know it.
And like Daniella, like, really holds me accountable to that stuff. Like, I think, like, it takes a very angelic soul and brave.
It does,
like,
man.
no,
it's
like,
not easy.
A
it is no joke.
To deal with someone in recovery or someone with addiction, because it is not about doing drugs and alcohol.
That's exactly right.
And like, for me, like, I'm so grateful to have found a partner that like understands that. And like, even today, like, I'm trying to figure out like, how do I stop worrying about my physique as much? And how do I stop worrying about going to the gym 6 days a week? And like, she is really helpful, because she doesn't say, you're not allowed to work out 6 days a week anymore.
What does she say?
She says, hey, like, I know how much you care about, like, being a good dad, and, like, I know how much you care about mental health, and you talk about mental health, and I know how much you care about us, and, like, have you thought about, like, utilizing some of the time that you spend at the gym and, like, going to AA more, or, like, you know, spending more time with friends, like, and, like, so she's always she's not saying stop doing things that you love, but she's very good about saying, hey, do you think that this is something that's
bringing it to your attention,
unhealthy,
helping you redirect some of that focus onto something. That's That's cool. Well, so what about you in terms of, not being a mother? Right out the gates, y'all met, and you essentially have to play that role and come into that role. And it's very important, obviously, to him and to
So
you guys.
good.
And so how do you feel about that?
I mean, I love it.
You do?
I love the kids so much. I think the hardest part, really, truly, is, and not in a bad way, but it is Hunter. I think Hunter sometimes is an obstacle when I see his children's development and like helping his kids be more independent. And I grew up so differently. Like, I was incredibly independent because I didn't really have a choice. It was like my dad wasn't really in the picture. My mom was a single working mom. I had 2 older brothers, and it just felt like,
Wow.
and I was the youngest. So I feel like as the youngest, you're kind of like, all right, everybody's doing their own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just got to do my own
That's
thing
right.
and figure my own shit
Yep.
out. And so it's hard for me because I think Hunter has like such good intention when it comes to his children, and we talked about it a little bit, is like he really wants to nurture his children a lot because I think he carries so much guilt from the divorce. So sometimes I have to, that's the more challenging part, is I do get frustrated sometimes and feel like I need to pull Hunter out of that mindset and be like, you're going to stunt the children if you keep coddling and if you keep like doing everything for them, or you have to watch them every second of every day, and like, or not trust them to be able to learn to do things on their own. Like I think for me it's like I want to instill confidence in the kids because I see that there sometimes is a lack of confidence. And I'm like, I see it and I want them to be more confident. And sometimes he'll take it as me being like overly like militaristic,
right,
or like pushing the kids, but I'm like, okay,
that's
no, but it's all with the intention of trying to
and I think like
grow.
She's exactly right. Like there's a lot of trauma around the divorce.
Yeah.
Like
for you and the kids.
Yeah. I mean, and like for me, I am always gonna feel like I made an irrevocable decision that hurt the children forever, right? And there's a part of me like that knows that's not true. Like you have to, you can't take that on. I think, and in my heart of hearts, I know that like we made, my ex-wife and I, we made the right decision. But sometimes even stuff like going on the show, like, I get divorced and then I leave for 2 months to go film a show to get married.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of regrets around how it affected the children. And like what Daniella's getting into is that like if my son wants something, like, or my daughter is asking for something, almost always I am inclined to just say yes, because I have this like monster on my shoulder that's saying, you are a bad father. You need to help them, give them what they need to be happy and to be okay. And a lot of times what I end up doing is I end up overprotecting them to the point of debilitating them, because they need to experience things. They need to be able to do things on their own. They need to be told no.
That's right.
They need to be told, I don't care if you want new Nikes. You're not getting the Nikes unless you earn the money and buy them yourself. And so, but the flip side of that is that like coming into this, I was so protective of my children, and like Daniella came in true Daniella fashion, guns blazing, with a full like, why aren't you parenting this way approach? And I think she's gotten a lot better about like the way that she's gone about that. And like for me, I was always of this, I have this delusion of, because you aren't a parent, a biological parent, you don't know the way I know, and that's completely false. If anything, like there are things Daniella knows about a step-parent relationship that I don't, because she went through that. She had a stepmom. She had parents on both sides. She had Christmases that were divorced. So like there are a lot of things that like she had a perspective on that I didn't. So it is, you said it yourself, there's a fine line, and I think Danielle like began to realize like and understand there's probably a way like we should be having these conversations around like co-parenting and like she did a great job early on of being like, who do you want me to be?
Oh,
To the
yeah?
kids? Like, what part do
And
you
what did
want
you
me
say?
to play? And like at first, I was like, I want you all in. Like
Yeah.
you need to be. And she was like when we were just dating, she was like, okay, but no, like that's not. I'm not their mom.
Yeah.
I'm not their stepmom even. Like so at first, like she's like, look, I'm gonna want time away. I'm gonna want to do my own thing. I'm not gonna want to be expected to always
That's
be
good
around.
that you communicated that.
But what's funny?
Yeah, really early
That-
on.
see, that-
I
What's
was
funny,
like, I
though,
have
is that
boundaries
she-
around it.
Yeah.
Is that I would find that she would communicate that, and then I'd come home and she'd be like, I planned this awesome weekend
Oh,
with
yeah.
kids, and I'm like,
yeah. Right.
okay, awesome. And I'm
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, but you didn't want to. But
Yeah.
she did. She like fell in love
What I
with
did
him,
Exactly.
and they fell in love with
Yeah.
her.
What I tell him is that I just wanted autonomy and to be able to make the decision on my own if I want to be around the children and how much
Yeah,
I
I
want to
get
be
that.
around the children.
Yeah.
Because again, crazy, like, foisted into this
Uh-huh.
relationship with two children
Yep.
with somebody that wanted to spend all of his time with the kids when the kids were there. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, slow down.
Right.
I love my life.
Yeah.
No
That's
children
fair.
life.
That's
and I was
fair.
like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I need to be able to, it's not that I don't want to be around
Right.
the children, it's that I want to be able to have the agency and decision to say, I want to be with the kids today,
Respect
or
that.
I
I
don't
get
feel like
that.
being with the kids today. I'm going to take some time for myself.
Absolutely.
And I think we really had to kind of level set those expectations because I think I think since he was so fresh off the divorce, I think when he started dating me, he wanted me immediately to be like mom.
That's what I would have
right?
wanted to. I get
like,
that. Yeah.
You immediately
Yeah.
wanted me to play the role of
Oh, yeah.
mom, and I was like, hold the phone. Like,
Yeah.
I love your children; they're great, but I'm not ready to just be
Mhm.
mom.
No,
Right.
I will
I'm
say
Daniella,
though,
and
like
I have a life
we took-
outside of this, and
we took
I
a
can't
long
lose that.
time before introducing her to the kids.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought so. Yeah.
Like there were times when we're like, okay, it's this weekend, and then I remember we got in kind of a bit of a fight because we were gonna do it this one weekend, and then I woke up and I was like, hey, like I don't think we're ready. Like, I don't think
Oh,
they're
y'all had
ready.
planned it?
And like we did this a few times, and then when we finally like felt like it was right, we did it, and she was the first woman that had met them, and I had dated
Whoa.
some women like
So,
How did it go?
it went awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, I think like the people that have been exposed to the kids in that relationship, that the part like my ex-wife has dated. She's been in one serious relationship who they met the man, and he's been awesome. He was awesome, and then they've met another man, and he's a great guy. And like Daniella, when they met her, they immediately took to her. Like there was
They did?
no
Yeah.
weird like, who's this
That's cool.
lady in our life? Like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that has to do with the way that Daniella approached him, and she was very good. I didn't love the way sometimes this worked, but we would go about our way and about to do all this, and the kids would walk up and she'd be like, all right, come here, and she'd be like, we need to talk. This, like she would.
To you or the kids?
To me.
Oh, okay.
Which is so amazing and perfect in a
Yeah.
sense of like healthy, but
Yeah.
I would feel like an unloading.
Uh-huh.
The good part about that is that she would never do that in front of the kids.
Right,
And, like
that's cool.
I could see a lot of people maybe like rolling their eyes and be like, "Oh my God, your dad's annoying." Like even
Yep.
early on, and
Yep.
she was very careful about like not doing that. And I think that
That's
does come
cool.
from the experience of having that
That's
relationship
right.
with a stepmom growing
Yeah.
up. And she had a great stepmom, and their relationship was very like positive. And
That's
like,
cool.
It was very good influence on her life. So I'm grateful for that.
Dude, yeah, that's cool. What I want to know is whenever you got divorced, and because here's what my dad said to me, and it like really kind of hit me. And it's when I told my dad, I said, listen, me and, Jamie, it's just not, we've tried everything we can, and I have to make a decision. I've seen my child be affected with my own eyes now from our relationship. It's just kind of toxic, and I've seen he's affected. So I just can't do it anymore. And he said, what you have to understand is that's fine, but your son is going to be partially raised by another man.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, what? And so, what
Yeah.
was that like? For
Yeah.
you?
I mean, that like, and we've talked about this,
Yeah.
you and I have. I mean, that's a scary
It
thing. I think it's more about like me trying to have faith that my ex-wife will make the best decision. And so far, like that's gone fine. Like
Yeah.
but one of the men in their life previously like helped teach Ben how to ride a bike.
Wow.
Things
Did
like
that bother you at all?
It didn't. Like it actually made me feel such a sense of relief, and it wasn't like oh, good thing he's doing because I don't want to do. It was more of a like, oh my gosh, like there's someone when I'm not there to fill that gap. There's someone there that cares enough to step in and do things like that, and I think that my ex-wife probably feels very similar.
Yeah.
Things that Daniella
That's what I
does, and
wanted to know. Yeah.
and she's expressed that. Like,
Yes.
you can tell that she's grateful for the type of person that I've brought into the children's life. And like that was scary though, is that like there's going to be an influence on them, and who knows what they're
That's right.
Who knows what they're saying? The type of
That's
lessons,
right.
like. But I have to have faith, A, that my ex-wife is making those right decisions, but B, I have to relinquish that sense of control. And Daniella helps me with this a lot, in the sense that like I have the kids about half the time of their lives, and that's what I control. And I can set screen limits, and I can have rules about language or about whatever, and like that's what I control. And like if stuff happens outside of that time, there's nothing I can do about it. So as long as I'm doing like the best I can do, that's what I can do, and that's what I have control over. And if I sit and worry about this other part, it's just gonna eat.
That's right. Yeah. So, but you never found yourself. There was never a time when you just found yourself being eaten alive by it. Like, God, I can't stand just the thought of this other person. Like,
no, I think for me, like what I'm eaten alive by, and Daniella can attest to this, is when I'm not with them and I miss them, I start to almost like create this list of things that I do wrong as a dad, and it's just this weird like negative thing where I'm like, wow. So I start feeling it, and then I'll text my daughter and be like, oh my God, I miss you so much. And she's like, I miss you too, Dad, and that usually like helps, but it doesn't eat me alive that someone else is in their life.
That's
what
cool.
eats me alive is that like I'm not with them, being able to share that with them, and I don't want that to affect them in a bad way.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Like,
yes, I get it.
Daniella reminds me. She's like, "Do you know how many kids have divorced parents?"
That's right. That's exactly right.
I'm always telling him, I'm like,
that's so
babe,
true, man.
I'm like, that is so much the norm now.
Yeah,
that,
you don't think about it that way for some reason. You don't.
Well, and when, as again, a child of divorce, I've seen lots of divorces, not just my parents' divorce, but my mom remarrying and then divorcing again. My grandmother having 2 divorces under her belt. Like everybody's divorced in my family, and when you're a kid, you're so resilient to that. That just becomes your reality, and like you honestly don't even know otherwise. And you sometimes will long for it, but you really don't.
That's how I can relate to that.
You really don't long for
exactly.
it. You're really like, oh, this is just life.
It's just how it is.
This is how life is.
Yeah, exactly. So would you ever go on a reality show?
No.
You wouldn't?
I think it depends on what it is. Like, if it's a reality
if it was like
show,
a fitness reality show.
What if it was like a fitness reality show?
I could easily see her.
If it
That'd
were
be
something
so funny.
about
I'm so ironic.
or like a Survivor, like I freaking love those kinds of shows.
You do? Yeah.
Like I think if it was like a competition in terms of like, Survivor, or like, I just can't imagine being on a reality show. No offense to you, but like a bachelorette.
I mean, it'd be weird.
Was
it weird?
Bizarre to me.
Well, one thing I want to know real quick about that is that I remember there was a friend of mine who I trained, a client of mine, a little older guy, but he'd always ask me, he would say after an episode or whatever, he'd be like, I just don't. Are they really buying into this? Like, are they really?
Oh
How
my
can all
gosh,
these
I
guys
still
be
do.
pining after this
Okay.
one woman and all?
So I
these
can. I'll say what I'm legally
Yeah.
allowed to say.
Or are you still under some
I was
kind of?
Oh, I'm under
You're kidding.
NDA in perpetuity
For life?
forever.
Oh,
Absolutely.
are you serious? That's
Yes,
wild.
they have
Yeah.
me. Yes.
Yeah.
If one misstep and
Whoa.
one of
Okay.
others will have
Okay.
me.
All right.
No, like, here's the thing. Like, you're put in a situation where the circumstances and the conditions of your setting in your life are they pull certain levers that put you in a very vulnerable state. Okay, you think about, you haven't had electronics or contact with the outside world for weeks to months.
Mm-hmm.
You are surrounded by men primarily.
Yeah.
There's a woman that they are putting in front of you and like making this out to be like the end be all end all
Yeah.
of everything. And you're doing a lot of interviewing where they're saying things and they're getting you to say things and they're asking you
I understand where
questions.
you're going.
And then also, like, there is an element of, and people that are on the show can like deny it all they want, there's an element of competition
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Where you are like, yes, they make you like infatuated with the girl and they make her out to be a goddess.
Yeah.
But you're competing.
Yeah.
You're competing to be there.
That's right.
And to be there another week.
That's
and
right.
to like keep the fight on. And
For sure.
keep going on the dates. And like the other side of it is that you're forming relationships with these guys.
Yeah, that's
that
not
are
talked
very
about enough.
emotional and
Yeah.
strong relationships. You can ask Daniella, some of the relationships I have with the guys, like Connor.
Yeah.
Connor, I would take a bullet for the guy.
Damn.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
some of the guys on the show that I met that I will have lifelong relationships
Yeah.
with. And so, again, there's another emotional element where it's almost like this weird summer campy
Yeah.
thing
Uh-huh.
where you're not in your right mind. And so
Okay.
the other part of it is the show is a show. It's edited
Yeah.
for drama and
Yeah.
for entertainment. And so, like, when your friend is saying, like, are they really, like, bought into this?
Yeah.
You're seeing parts of us that are put together that make it look like
That's right.
we are very bought into this.
That makes sense.
There are probably
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
say for sure, but there are probably times when, I know for me, like, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Really?
But there are other times when I was like, wait, what if
Yeah. I could see that.
what if she picks me
Right,
and, like,
exactly.
we spend this weekend together and then I end up engaged to her and what if it, there's-
Exactly. I could see that.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
for other people, like, I have to be honest, like, I wasn't in like a position to get married.
Yeah.
Like, I really
Sure.
wasn't.
Yeah.
If I'm being realistic, but there are some guys that go on the show that are 25, 26 that don't have kids,
Yeah.
that are in the middle of their career, that are in a position to technically get married.
That's right,
Like, for
yeah.
me, I had 2 kids. I just came out of a divorce
Right.
5 months prior. Like,
Yeah.
realistically, the stars are really going to have to align for that
Exactly.
to happen. So for me, I don't know that was the case.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that psychologically, you're put in a position where you will say and do things that you
That makes sense.
would never.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, oh yeah. They set it up that way. It's
They
like
do.
almost a brain.
And they know, they do so much interviewing that they know what buttons to push.
Mhm.
They know your emotions. They know you're defensive. They
That's
know
right.
you're emotional.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
they know who to put you around and what to say to you if they want to see certain things.
That's right. So before we get out of here, just a couple more things. So, what about kids for y'all too?
Oh man.
Oh, this is a great one.
Yeah.
And,
Are we thinking about
definitely
that?
are thinking about. We
Yeah.
want one.
Cool.
yeah.
It's
All
just
right.
a matter of just like timing. Of
Yeah.
it. The timing is a little tricky. I'm not necessarily itching to have a child right
Sure.
now. I know that I want one eventually, and
Oh, cool,
so
cool, yeah.
funny enough, starting next week we have our first
Yeah.
appointment with like a fertility clinic just to see like
Oh, just to make sure everything's
what,
good.
yeah,
and,
like what
there's
our
a lot
options are, like
that has to
what
happen.
Wait, so you know if you're over 34, I think it is
it's
geriatric.
geriatric.
That's
I'm
crazy.
like,
That's such an offensive word.
I know.
I don't know why they haven't
Geriatric.
changed that.
Can we, like-
I don't like that either, dude.
I'm like,
Can we
hello, medical
modify
people.
this term, like make it a little friendlier?
I know. I
Write
hate it.
letters to like
Right.
get that
Geriatric.
changed.
I don't like that either.
Geriatric, yeah.
That's how it was because Jamie was 34.
Yeah,
And I was
it's
like,
wild.
geriatric.
I'm
Yeah.
like, and we're all perfectly healthy.
I
living our
know,
best
that's
lives, and we're
weird.
like, I'm sorry, what? Geriatric?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so y'all do want to have one.
We do. I think,
I love that.
eventually we have an appointment, like you said, just to kind of check
Mhm.
everything and just like see what our options are. See if maybe, because I mean, I'm thinking like, we're both thinking like 3 or 4 years until we really
Yeah,
want to
okay.
start.
Yeah.
And, like,
And
that's
not-
cool.
I mean,
We still
that's
have travel
pretty
that
well
we want to
into-
do.
Yeah.
It's great.
So we're just kind of planning.
Yeah.
We're just
And we've talked to
just-
the kids about it a little bit.
What do they
like,
think?
Oh, Madison does not want.
I mean, they don't
to
like. It's not like
I
they're
don't
like.
think they understand.
I think they're kind of just like, ew, a sibling.
Yeah.
I don't think they're. It's not like Madison like started crying and was like, don't do
Right,
this.
right.
But she
Right.
was like, ugh, a sibling.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like
I
I
see.
think realistically, like especially my son, like would take to a baby, like having a
Yeah.
sibling.
Yeah.
I do think like it is. I mean, if we're being honest, like it is something that the kids and like their reaction to it and like how it affects them has been like one of the biggest things that I've had to like think about and talk to
Yes.
Danielle about, because
Yes.
again, there's a lot of like guilt and trauma.
Yeah.
Like I rethink every decision I make with them, and
Yeah.
again, I think it's like anything else. If this is done the right way, and
Mhm.
if it's done and approached the right way, like it doesn't have to be something that hurts.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we spent a week last week taking care of Danielle's nephews.
Yeah.
1 and
Two.
2, and like seeing her with the kids and with babies was just like, oh man,
Yeah?
she's meant to be a mom.
No.
Like,
Do you feel that way? Do you have that maternal instinct?
Sometimes I think I'm a nurturer by nature.
You
I
are?
nurture him all the
Oh,
time. I feel
see,
like, and
I feel like Hunter needs that. I
Yeah.
know I need that in a relationship.
I nurture
Yeah.
a lot, and it
Yeah.
can definitely,
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
definitely be like controlling as well, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what
There's
you're
a lot
talking
of
about. Yeah,
control-
I know
controlling.
exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, I think I don't know. It's so funny. I tell people all the time. I get asked quite a bit, like, "Oh, do you want kids? When are you gonna have
Right.
kids?" And I'm like, I could go literally either way. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I'm 50,
It is.
50.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's no like, I'm not like itching. Like I'm like, I need to have babies now.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh yeah. I mean, it would be nice to have a child of my own.
Yeah,
But then I always say to myself as well, like, I love Madison and Bennett so much.
yeah,
And like I could also see a life where I'm totally content
that's cool.
having 2 stepchildren and watching 2 stepchildren.
Do you feel the same? Are you like, I want to have another one so
No,
bad?
no.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, for me,
Mine
like,
is
and I
something.
told her this, like, even like the baby monitors last week, like, and hearing crying was
Yeah.
like a little bit of
Triggering to
PTSD.
him. Yeah.
Because, like,
dude,
as a
yeah.
dad, like, that's been through that with 2 kids, like,
Yeah,
and divorce, like, there's a sense of, okay, I got through like those infant toddler years.
That's-
I'm never doing that.
Yeah.
Again. Never cleaning another bottle again. So going back to like that mode was surreal. Like, it was a
yeah.
little bit rough, and I tried to be vulnerable with Danielle and be like, look, it's a little bit jarring for me because
Oh.
I'm not used to being in this area again.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, like, I always said from the time that I told Danielle, like, I want to marry you, like, marrying you is also being wanting and willing and open to starting a family with you.
Yeah.
Those two go hand
That's
in
right.
hand
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
like, I know that that's something that has always been something that she wants.
Yeah.
And maybe she won't, maybe she will, but
Yeah.
it's something that she heavily considers.
Right.
I think the part for me has always just been like the life that we lead right now is like when we don't have the kids, we will get up and go to Costa Rica or
Yeah.
Or
That's pretty cool.
Or just
Silence.
sleep.
I know, dude. That cannot be.
And so, like, I tell her, like,
Don't overestimate that.
well, I know,
Oh, so
I know.
nice.
And, like, she's, like, got all these places. She's like, all right, so Thailand next year. And I'm like,
Oh, it's
here's
awesome.
the thing, like, we're going to have to really modify the way that we live if we have a baby.
That's right.
And she does, and again, she does a good job of shutting up the pessimistic version of me and saying,
That's cool.
okay, but that doesn't mean you can never travel again.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
Yeah.
you can never go to the movies again.
Man,
Like,
I'm the same way as you with that. Like, I can get real pessimistic, and I need somebody to kind of pull me out of it and be like,
Well, I'm
it's
like-
not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm like, what
Bro.
is this?
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, we're not dead just because we had a
Yeah.
baby. Like,
Yeah.
figure it
Yeah,
out.
we like go to the extreme.
I mean, honestly, like, I do think, like, I let the whole, like, the stigma of, like, oh my God, you're never going to sleep again, like that.
Yeah.
And I'll be real, like, you lose some sleep
Yeah.
when you have a baby.
Dude.
But, like, she's right. You can travel. There are a lot of people that travel with
Oh my
the
gosh,
baby.
For
I know
sure.
so many
Yes.
people that
Oh, you
travel.
can do all kinds
and I'm
of
like,
stuff,
and if
yeah.
we only have one,
Oh, dude.
throw that shit on our back, let's
Yes.
go. Like,
No,
it's
yeah,
like,
you could
it's
climb Mount
just one.
Kilimanjaro, yeah.
My
Yeah.
brother does it. My oldest brother has a 1-year-old right now. And
Yeah?
they live in Colorado, and they just are everywhere with Leo. I mean, they literally just take him everywhere. It's like not. I mean, not that it's not a problem. I'm sure it's quite a pain in the ass to do
Right,
so.
yeah.
But they're
But it's
willing
worth it.
to, right? It's like
Yeah.
you have to be willing to do that
Yep.
if you want, the best of both worlds.
That's right.
And I'm like, I want the best of both worlds. I'm willing to put in that work. I'm willing to strap this baby on me and like,
Yeah.
let's fucking roll. Like,
That's right.
let's go.
You'll probably be doing Pilates with your baby.
Yeah.
Oh, she will be that mom.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I
You will.
She will be that mom.
Yeah.
it won't.
100%.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
All right, before we run out of
Yeah.
time,
We're about
I
where
want to tell you
What?
that, like, I'm super proud of you.
Dude, thank you.
And I haven't seen you since everything that's happened. And
Yeah.
I've talked to you a lot. We talk a lot. And I'm sorry for being emotional when I tell her this, but, like, I believe in you. I want you to know that I believe in you. And, like,
Thank you.
I
dude.
hope that the community and, like, everybody that's watching you, I want you to know they believe in you too, and, like, you have people in your corner. And
Dude,
I
thank
can't express it enough, and I don't mean to, like, flip the script on you, but, like, what you're doing, like, I see it and I'm so, like, inspired by it. There are so many
Dude.
people that right now would crawl into a hole and just wait
Yeah.
in fear.
Yeah.
And, like, you are not. You are standing up. You're not letting any negativity keep you down. And frankly, like, you don't even know what's your future holds.
That's right,
And you're
yeah.
still
Yeah.
being so positive and, like, acting like you're on top of the world.
Yeah.
And, like, that's so powerful. And, like, I hope that, I don't know, the powers that be or whoever, like, I hope they see that when
Yeah.
time comes, because what you have done in the past 3 months is the complete opposite of what anyone would have expected.
Yeah.
Like, I pray that you keep doing it. I pray that you're given the chance to keep doing it, because it
too.
is, like, it's just incredible. And I want you to know, like, and I speak for everyone, that, like, we love you so much. We're so happy you're here. We're so happy you're safe, and we're so proud of you for what you're doing. I love it, man.
Dude, thank you so much, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you. That means the world to me. It really does. It
we
does.
love you. We're listening to it.
I love
We're
you guys.
supporting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, sorry.
I
Sorry
love
about
you
that,
guys.
but
No, I love you
I
guys.
think it's important.
It is.
I mean, you don't know how many people have called me and just been like,
That surprised me when you told
hey,
me that.
like, what can I do, or what's gonna happen? And, like, it's like they think I'm just your dad or something. Like, I'm like, I don't, guys, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
we're working on it,
Yeah.
but, like,
Yeah.
it's incredible, and I don't want to be morbid about it, but it's almost like, have you ever wondered, like, if who's gonna be at your funeral type thing? And, like, when this bad stuff happened to you, like, so many people came out and were just like, what do we do? How do we help? What
That's
can we
crazy.
do? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Can we fix this?
Yeah.
And, like, the beautiful thing is it's not your funeral. like you're here.
That's right.
And like
Yeah.
you're not gone. And
Yeah.
we've seen so many people, and it
I know
was
it,
their
man.
funeral. And like
That's right.
I think that you are doing such a good job of proving like no matter what happens, there's still a chance
That's right.
at getting a great life back.
Yes.
No matter what.
And yeah, you know who inspired me to do that? You did. Yeah, it makes me emotional because you did. You really did. And I knew that that it was possible, you know, because I've seen you firsthand do that. And so it's really cool, man, to be able to still, like you said, to still be here and to be an inspiration for someone else. And so it's
Because I can see a world where you're thinking in your head, what if I would have been able to like get out of that and crawl out and like get behind the microphone and start doing good, and like what if
exactly. Yeah.
and you're like you did it, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Praise God.
I just like I am in awe of your confidence and your positivity. Like I've told Danielle, like, man, like after some of the stuff that's happened and like the way you've been treated, just, it makes me
It's crazy.
so
man.
angry. And don't get me wrong, like I've told you, like you, we deserve consequences.
That's
it doesn't
right.
matter.
That's right. Yeah.
These disease or
That's
not,
right.
we deserve consequences,
right.
and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between consequences that are deserved and other.
That's
stuff.
right.
And
Yeah.
I think like what some of the stuff that has come your way is just insane.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And people
I mean,
are.
we can call it what it is. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
despicable.
It is.
And
Some
Thank
people
you.
are
It is.
vile
Yeah.
and degenerates and
Yeah.
don't deserve that no matter what you've done.
Thank you. That's exactly right. I feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just like again, like I keep going, man.
Yes, I
Like,
will.
keep going.
Yeah, I will. I will. Because people like you believe that. I mean, I need to hear that. Like sometimes it gets hard, dude. It does. It's like, it's, you know, doing something. Corey said something about this. He said, I want to give you your flowers, man. You know, you're kind of, you know, along the same lines. And I was so grateful for him saying that. And he also goes, dude, you have a sponsor you just read. And he's like, you know how many people do this for like 3, 4,
And
5
don't
years?
have sponsors.
Yeah, and I was like,
right
dude, I
now,
only have one sponsor. He's like, it doesn't matter. And I was like, yeah, you're right, man. You know,
That's
and
huge.
it's cool. Yeah, and so it's just hard because in this business, it's hard to get to where you monetize it, you know, and you're doing. It's just tough because you rely on sponsors and
I get
advertisers.
monetizing it's a necessity, right? Because everyone has to have
Yeah,
a living, but
right.
you are. I think you care more about helping people and,
Absolutely.
and being positive than you, and like that shows.
Yep, that's all
Like
I
at
care
the
about.
end of the day, that will come. To
That's what I'm
fruition.
thinking. Exactly. Like I just want to be able to make enough to keep doing this.
I know you
know.
do.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I like I've told you, whatever I can do to help you, and
Yeah,
I know
dude.
we've talked about some stuff, but like, just keep going.
I will.
And like, I hope that the community gets behind this, like they have other stuff.
Yeah.
They needed to in the past, because you are an example that people need to see.
Thank you, man. I sincerely thank both of y'all for saying that.
No, thank you for having
pretty awesome.
us.
Yeah.
We're so happy to be here.
This was a good one, y'all. This was fun.
Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough one to edit. This is a
Why?
lot.
Nah, it won't be bad. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I
Do
can't
people
wait.
even want to listen to 2 hours worth?
Oh
of
my
stuff?
God. This is the kind of stuff people want to hear about, like how y'all have navigated your relationship and like conflict and how y'all have evolved, and you know, and especially with the situation, you know, going into it with his fame and all that, and you know,
Yeah, I know it's a lot.
yeah, it's wild. All right, but we'll let y'all get out of here. Thank y'all so much, guys.
you.
Hannah,
Tanner.
Hunter and Daniella at Montgomery. I like that I can say that now.
Montgomery. I like that name.
I'm gonna start going by
I know. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the McAtree Report, and we will see y'all next time. Thanks a lot, guys.
What up, say? One time for the hometown, I got love for it, it's real. 2 times for the haters, man, cause I notice how this shit feel.